What did a crush do that made you immediately lose interest? Not so much a crush, but we were in the initial sentences of the conversation getting to know each other. We were describing to one another what our jobs were. He corrected me on describing my job, stopped right there, said it wasn't going to work out and ended the conversation. He would ask me questions about myself, then cut me off in the middle of my answer to talk about himself. Bragged about how she was leading on a few guys so she always had a backup. Fatty yikes. I was casually dating a 19-year-old guy when I was 18. He seemed totally normal until I met him at his house before a date and his mom asked him to take the garbage out before we left. He threw a fit that would embarrass most 3-year-olds, including crying, yelling at his mom, and punching the floor. I pretended that my parents were calling and needed me to come home, blocked his number, and never saw him again. I like to think that mom knew he'd do that and was trying to save you the trouble. Back in college I was seeing a girl casually. Whenever we'd text, she'd take hours to respond to any message. It wasn't a big deal, since most of the time it was just chatting or setting plans for the following weekend or something. It was a little annoying because it'd take a full day or two to set up plans because of the slow responses. But whatever, I'm a bad texter so I can't really judge someone for that. But I started to notice that when we hung out together, she'd immediately respond back to any and every text she got. She had some loud song as the ringtone that played for like 15 seconds, and set it so that her camera LED would flash constantly while it rang. Totally obnoxious and made me really notice how often she texted. I casually asked her who she was texting one time and it was just some friend from school that had sent her a meme. After that I realized it wasn't going to work. Being a slow texter is fine. Constantly texting while hanging out was annoying, but not a deal breaker, especially if we were just chilling at one of our houses. But the realization that this person who was glued to her phone but didn't feel like it was a priority to respond back to my texts made me feel unimportant, so I kinda just drifted away. We stayed friends because we shared the same group of friends and it wasn't awkward or anything. I just stopped trying to do things with just the two of us. Met a woman. Thought she seemed cool. We went out to eat. She's telling me about how she fell on financial hard times and moved back in with her parents. The way she described it just sounded like she got unlucky, not that she did anything irresponsible. It happens. When the bill came I told her I'd pay. She said, "Thanks, I appreciate that. I'm trying to save my money right now." Me, "Sure, I understand. You want to get your own place again." Her, "No, actually I mean I'm trying to save up $500 for a tattoo I want to get. I've got nothing against spending money on tattoos, but when you've just spent a first date talking about the financial troubles you have, maybe now's the time to start putting money away for necessities, not tattoos." Poured lemonade on my head in the middle of a fireworks show. She thought it was flirty and cute. Should have poured it on her and asked her if she thought it was cute. After my divorce I reconnected with a girl I had a huge crush on in high school. After meeting up in Vegas and hooking up for a few nights, then going back to visit and doing the same again, found out she lived with her boyfriend. No clue she had a boyfriend. It was messed up. Immediately lost interest. Said she would turn up on a date, then flaked. Told me she had been called into work urgently. I said okay, that's cool. Second time she flaked again, said that she had to tutor someone, which made no sense because would you not have that planned? She told me her future plans to essentially become a gold digger like her mother. When I laughed it off she couldn't see what I thought was so funny. Step 1. Maybe don't confront the guy with it like that. I ran into an old crush a few years back who told me he was into dog baiting. The candle had blown out a long time ago as far as my crush was concerned, but that pretty much killed any intention I had of trying to restart our friendship. Went on a date with them and they didn't ask me anything about myself. It was completely one-sided, like a job interview or something. I'm a guy, by the way. I've been on that date. It's exhausting carrying the conversation. I went on 2 dates with a girl when I was in college. She was wonderful but immediately wanted to be official and started drafting Instagram posts about us. She wanted to spend every day together and have sleepovers every night. It was so out of nowhere and we literally knew nothing about one another. I tried to look past it but she asked me to be her first and I got uncomfortable. She seemed naive and I didn't want to take advantage. I suggested we take things slow and she took offense. I cut things off and her reaction was super childish. All of this in a 3-week period. Sweet girl, but the pacing was off. He wouldn't talk to me in person for some reason. This is me in high school. Captain Anxiety takes over. Crush comes to my house. I explain how I'm slowly remodeling it and my plans for my house. She then starts telling me I shouldn't and I should do it her way, and let her take it over and let her design, decorate, and do it all. The heck I will. My father actually leaves his house totally undecorated when he's between wives' girlfriends and lets whoever he is dating decorate it however they want. He should get with your crush. Ask me to be their wingman because they had a crush on my best friend. We were driving down the road and she threw a Starbucks cup right out the window. Gross. Litterers should be turned into goddamn trees. She told me that spanking her teenage daughter didn't work because it wasn't satisfying enough. It's amazing how much horrible stuff you can fit in one sentence. He talked about how he wanted to loosen up some boring family at a wedding reception, so he spiked their drinks with party drugs. We were eating dinner out and he was rude to the server. Told him we were pretty close friends. It would be nice to add a please or thank you. He said, why should I? She's a waitress, implying he feels superior and I pay her to do her job. Instant turn off and didn't really want to hang out with him even as friends after the incident. Gave me a 5-minute lecture on conditions where cheating is okay. I doubt that they'll make sense, but I'm curious what the proper conditions are. He would steal people's tips off the bar counter when we were at a bar together with friends. Then he would offer to buy me food with it. No thank you. I once knew a girl, back in the 1980s, who told me how she made money going to the bar because all these other people went home and just left all this money sitting on the bar, so she scooped it up. She sounded very smug and proud of herself. A woman I was talking to was recently divorced and had moved back in with her parents. She already had a child and a couple pets and was talking about getting another pet and her parents told her no. She chose to go ahead and get another pet anyhow and basically her parents began pushing her out the door. And it was a stressful situation for her and I suggested she talk to her folks. However, once she told me she was grown and made her own decisions and did not care about their rules, I suddenly understood and quickly lost interest. I had a crush on a guy in high school who was a little bit of a rebel. Nothing serious but definitely had a bad boy thing going on. One day in class the teacher told him to do something minor and he flipped out. Basically had a temper tantrum and refused. Totally killed all interest by being in butthole for no reason. She generalized everyone. She was also such a B to everyone that she didn't understand. He plays video games? Wow, when do you think he'll move out of his mother's basement? Wow, she wears so much makeup, can you imagine what she's hiding under that face? Just such a mean-spirited person and it completely turned me off. He started dating one of my friends after I told her that I had a crush on him. She tried hooking up with every guy she knew I had a crush on. I felt like I couldn't like anyone. Co-worker at work had just a beautiful energy, absolutely lovely to be around, always smiling at everyone, and she would laugh at my jokes. And she made some comments from time to time that made me feel validated and understood, which was very flattering, like she guessed my passions in life and told them to me, with a big smile while looking me in the eyes. And I'm a reserved guy who doesn't share that stuff. All just very lovely. One day we're in the break room and she's talking to another guy the same way and I'm consciously talking myself out of being jealous. You're not dating or anything, you don't even have her cell phone number. She's allowed to be lovely with other people now, come on, no reason to be jealous. Then when the guy leaves she turns to the girl next to her and says, God, I hate that guy. And I had just been jealous that she was treating him exactly like she treats me. I still feel foolish when I think about it. Like, does she like me or hate me? Was pretty rude to and consistently teased his roommate's dog. Just be nice to animals, not that hard. I actually got her and then realized she wasn't the person in my head that I fell in love with. So yeah, learned from that. Love a person for who they really are and not for who you perceive them to be. He was making fun of a disabled woman. Instantly not interested. Got so drunk at a party that she crap herself. The smell is really what did it. A guy who was a straight up doppelganger for Bradley Cooper had a massive crush on me. He was funny, smart, educated and accomplished. I could never get over how I had, on 2 separate occasions, seen him pee himself drunk. I had a harmless crush on a married friend that I did not signal or act on, ever. I've been the spurned wife before. I kept my distance and did everything short of unfriending him on Facebook. He slid on into my DMs right after my separation became public knowledge and he found out I was no longer married. He was still married to his wife, with a baby on the way. I didn't respond. They are divorced now. She's a really lovely person and deserves so much better. We would be great in person. Both of us would have a laugh and genuinely had an amazing connection. But trying to get a text back takes days. It's really difficult to arrange to spend more time together when she barely replies to me. I massively lost interest after this. She tried to hook up with one of the members of Air Supply. That would have left me all out of love. He snapped his fingers at a waitress. Then as I looked mortified, he whistled. First friend in college, she sat next to me in English class and we immediately clicked. One day she suggests we go out and study together for finals, and I didn't give it much thought. Turns out she liked me as much as I liked her, so you could imagine my reaction. It was what happened next that changed the mood. Orders a coffee, they make a small mistake and she flips out, starts cursing at the cashier, demanding a full refund and an apology. I sit there confused. This is the same girl who looked shy and reserved when you first meet. She walks out. I apologize profusely and follow after her. She has the nerve to blame them and I tell her it won't work out. The last week was awkward to say the least. She refused to move seats or sat next to me if I moved and acted like I was to blame for not taking her side. Like, no, you don't treat people like that. Shat on a stage in Loret in Spain. Not a crush but an ex. Jiggled the door handle while I was taking a crap and then got angry that I wouldn't let her in. Why can't I come in? Are you not comfortable with me or something? We're dating. It had been 3 days. I'd be upset if my BF locked themselves in the bathroom for 3 days. Crap personality. Doesn't matter how hot you are, if all you have are looks people will notice once you get any one-on-one time with them. Claimed women were only a physical relief for men and couldn't be as smart as them. Then proceeded to ask me to have a physical relation with him. I asked him if he has a lot of physical relations. Yes, of course. Then you can go ask another girl, because I am not going to have any physical relation with you. We were out. He booked me 2 hours and a half. I am not kidding you, it was actually that much time. Trying to convince me that having a physical relation with him was going to be the best experience in my life. I let him talk 2 hours, even pretended to almost be interested, then at the end of his rant I repeated I would rather die a virgin. He was pretty offended. And couldn't be as smart as them, then proceeded to ask me to have a physical relation with him. I'm smart enough to never have a physical relation with you, bruh. Said, why do you hang out with that N anyway? Harda. OG I don't know, maybe cause he has been my best friend since 2nd grade and always has my back. That was enough for me to realize she's ugly. I was having a party and the drinks were flowing. Went to check on her cause she had disappeared for a while. As I open the door, I see her sitting on a small wastebasket taking a crap in my bedroom. I couldn't get that picture out of my head. I know I've done my fair share of dumb stuff, but still couldn't forget it. The trash can in my room is one of those mesh ones. That's how I first imagined this. He started fingering me while we made out, then reached into his drawer, pulled out lube and squirted it all over my nether region and my panties, which were still on. Then proceeds to grab my throat and kiss me before he leans over and takes a sip of water out of his water bottle, only to then spit it onto the lubey glory hole mess. A grown butt man spat onto my glory hole. I thought that only happened in B. That's a no from me, dog. Probably tried to replay a video he liked in real life. I don't think this counts as immediately losing interest. for I actually needed some time to notice there were red flags all over the place. Guy and I met in college, shared hobbies and tastes in music and movies. During this particular instance, when we had just started hanging out with each other's group of friends, I briefly mentioned in front of him and a couple of mutual friends that I had googled this band he liked and listened to some of their songs. He deadass said that it was lame that I was trying to act like him. Skip to a few months later, he asked me out, took me on a date with his mom, called that same night to tell me we were going too fast and that we needed to take things slowly. 2 days later, said he needed time to think things through because he didn't want to hurt me. Found out the next day he had been dating another girl the whole time. Ghosted him for a solid 3 days before he convinced me to talk things out. He said, quote unquote, that I was the girl he was destined to marry, but he needed some experience first so that he wouldn't frick things up with me. You played hard to get. No thanks. If you're gonna ghost me for days at a time and then get pee off when I don't respond in 0.5 seconds, then that's not my problem. Shows how hard to get can easily turn into hard to want. My family is Jewish, and my grandfather survived the Holocaust. On the second date he told me he was a neo-Nazi, or at least on the path to becoming one. When I told him I was Jewish, and also politically very left, he told me that he wanted to frick the commie out of me. Never spoke again. You have been visited by the ingenious Joe. Comment brain so you always see the glass half full. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.